Today I am making a newborn gown for a friend. First thing I do is print off the instructions, and I actually have all of my patterns in these handy little folders labeled so they're easy to find. I did not come up with this pattern myself. I got it from thismamamakesstuff.com, and I do make a few changes because I tend to have bigger babies and my friends seem to kind of have bigger babies. She already includes a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I basically just kind of fudge it a little bit and call it good. She says to extend the pattern 14 inches from this line. Well, I want to make it a little bit longer, so from this line I went 16 inches from here. So you add this 1 inch and I have 17 inches from this line instead of 14. And I am going to cut out the pattern. She also says to draw a line straight down. You can't really see my line, but then add 1 inch and do a flare. Well, I decided to do 1.5 inch flare so that it's just a little bit wider at the bottom to make room for that cloth diaper butt. You can hear my baby talking in the background. And I have the fabric folded. I forgot to say, I'm sorry. I have it folded so I can do just one cut and get the 2 halves. And so I'm going to finish cutting this and I'll be back. Okay, now I'm getting ready to cut out the front. This is the pattern for the front, and you want the fold of the fabric to be on this side. So because of the way I folded my fabric, I have to flip it over so that the fold is where the fold is. And I did the same thing. I extended it the same amount, and I also did a mark 1.5 inches away and then drew a diagonal line. This is when these big quilting rulers really come in handy. This one's 20 inches long. So that's kind of nice. Alright, now I'm going to cut out this part. Okay, now I am going to cut out my sleeve piece, and I can't remember if I said this or not, so I'm just going to say it again. You want to make sure that you are cutting all of these with the stretch the right way. So think of your shirt. It stretches from side to side. So I had to cut it with the stretch from side to side. Same thing with the sleeves. I can't rotate it like this because the stretch will be the wrong way. So you have to pay attention to that. And also, this is a great way to reuse an old t-shirt that you have. And that's actually what the blog person used. But I wanted a particular color, so I bought knit fabric. But using a t-shirt is perfect. A large or extra large t-shirt should be just enough. So here I have my gown, my sleeve piece. I'm going to cut out 2 of these. Okay, I've been away from this project for a couple days, so I am back now. What I have done is I have the back pattern here, and I have marked the 2 marks for lining up the pieces later. I have also already gone ahead and used an iron to curve this under about 1/4 inch according to the directions. So I did that with my iron, and here's my front piece, which I already embroidered the letter and did the backing of the embroidery, so that piece is all set. And I also already used my iron to fold this piece over about 1/4 inch and made the marks here. So I am going to set my machine on a zigzag stitch, which on my machine is this one, number 7. And I'm going to go ahead and zigzag this fold over right where I marked it with my iron. I'm going to go nice and slow here so that I don't mess up around the curve, and also so that it looks nice, because this will be a visible stitch. And now I'm going to get the back piece and do the same thing. Just right where I set it with my iron. It's helpful too when you're doing curves and things to release the presser foot, to release the pressure on the fabric and then reset it. But pretty much no matter what you do, this is a knit, so it is going to stretch a little bit. And you know what, that's okay. I'm going to trim this a little bit. Okay. Okay, I have now taken my pieces so that the front of my gown is laying down and the back of my gown, and they're touching each other. And whoops. And I am overlapping them so that the back piece goes over the front piece. And those little marks I made earlier, I want to line up those marks-ish. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfectly perfect, but that's how you're going to get your overlap. And same thing on this side. Locate the mark. Line them up one over the other. And pin it in place. This is going to be the neck opening and the shoulders. And now I'm going to take the machine on a straight stitch, a really pretty long straight stitch called a basting stitch, as long as you can get it, and just sew those two pieces together. So let's examine the machine here. I am going to go back to my 0 straight stitch, and I'm going to increase the length to a 4.5. There we go. And then just take the fabric, set it on your machine. Now these knits do curl quite a bit, so just do your best to keep it. And get pretty close to the edge, close enough at least so that you catch all of the pieces, and give it a go. This is just to hold it in place because the sleeves are actually going to hold it together better. But this is just kind of to keep it all together. Trim off your pieces, and so now you can ditch this pin. And you can see how I used a pretty long stitch. And now flip it over to the other side you haven't done yet and do the same thing. Try to get it all flat and lined up. Now we can ditch this pin, and you can see we have the basic shape of the shirt. Okay, we have the front and the back together. Now we're ready to attach the sleeves. So go ahead and find the marks that you had put on your pattern and put it right side together. So this mark lines up with this mark. And put a pin in it. And then find the next mark. Put a pin in it, and then go ahead and line up the rest and pin, pin, pin. I tend to start with the outsides and then work my way towards the middle. Okay, so I have pinned the sleeve and it's facing inward like this because I have the right sides together. This is what it will look like when it's sewn. So let me go ahead and take this over to the machine and get it all sewn up. I'm using a stitch length of 3 so that it's tight but not too tight. And she gives you a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so that is what I'm going to use. If you have the option to keep your needle down on your machine, I would highly recommend utilizing that option so that you don't lose your place. And I frequently readjust my knits to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and I'm not pinching any other layers. Now you want to double check, make sure that you got all of the layers that you were supposed to get, especially here. See here? I missed this piece here where the front and the back came together. So I am going to go back here and just give this piece another go. bit further in there. Trim all my little strings. Okay. So I have one sleeve ready to go. I'm going to go ahead at this time and hem my sleeve and then move on to the other sleeve. So really all I'm going to do is, if you really want to be proper, you should use an iron, but generally not very proper. Lay it with the wrong side facing up. So this is the inside. Fold it over just 1/4 of an inch. And you can either do a straight stitch or a zigzag stitch. I'm just going to straight stitch since that's what I already have it set to. Just fold it over about 1/4 of an inch and I personally find that it's a lot easier to do this while it is flat than to try to figure this out after you've already closed it into a small little circle. So that is all set. Moving on to the other side. So once again, you're going to take your pattern pieces with the good side facing up. Lay it all flat. Take your little sleeve piece and matching up the marks so that I have my right sides together. And you are putting a convex piece with a concave piece, so you just kind of have to turn it a little bit and pivot it, and it'll all come together when it's sewn. Okay, so there you go. I have my sleeve. Take it back to the machine. Okay, now my sleeve didn't quite exactly match up. I've got a little bit of puckering going on, and that's okay. I'm just spreading it out so that I don't have one big ripple. I just have little tiny ripples all the way through. That's the thing about knits, you know, they shift and stretch while you're sewing them, and that's just the nature of the beast. So you can see I kind of have some of the ripples there. Extra fabric, get rid of that. And check your other side to make sure you've caught all the layers. And then flip it over and inspect. Okay? And again, I'm going to go ahead and hem the sleeve at this time. So I'm going to lay it on my machine with all the seams facing up. Fold it over about 1/4 inch. There we go. So now I have the shell here. Got my front, my back, and my 2 sleeves. And I'm going to flip this so that I have the outside, or the inside of the gown facing out. And now I'm going to sew it all together. So just put your little arm pieces together, and if you wanted to pin this, great. I'm lazy, so I'm just going to start at this point, and you're going to sew all the way down. So let me show you, or try to show you the whole gown here. So I'm going to start at this point and sew to the, sorry, having troubles here making it all fit. There we go. You're going to start at the sleeve and sew it to the armpit, and then come all the way down. And then you're going to stop. And come over to the other side and grab the other sleeve and start at the sleeve and go all the way down. So I'll be right back after I did that. Okay, I'm almost done sewing the gown. I just wanted to show you kind of how I just always have to stop and realign the knits, making sure that it's not all rolled up, and go nice and slow. And I'm definitely using my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So now my gown is essentially finished. Of course, it's inside out, but the nature of knits is that they stretch and pull. So you can see this does not exactly line up. So I am going to do a little Miss Fix-It, and I'm going to fold this and line up the armpits and lay it out on my table as best as I can, and then just kind of straighten this up. so that now all my edges are the same. But I wanted to make sure to line that up with the armpit so that it's from the top down. Now we are almost to the end because, oopsie, missed a little bit here. If you wanted to leave it open at the bottom, you could certainly just either use a serger to finish it or fold it over and do a straight stitch. I wanted to have a little bit of elastic at the bottom, so I am going to leave it inside out, but open it up. And I am going to fold this. The way to handle your middle seams, if you want to be proper, you would use an iron and press these seams open. I'm just going to hold them open with my fingers and fold this over about an inch. Let me double check. Okay, so this is a little bit more than an inch. I can back it up a bit. There, that's an inch. Okay, so I am going to do this all the way through, sewing it so that I have about an inch. Let me double check. Yep, I've got an inch. So I'm going to sew this casing almost all the way. And just sew a couple stitches, stop, readjust the fabric. Get your inch. And then go a couple stitches, do the same. Make sure that it is not sewing onto itself. That would be not good. And when you get to the other side, again, if you were proper, you would have taken your iron and pressed these seams open. I am not proper. So I'm not pressing. Okay. Okay, I'm getting to where I started, and I've got about a 4-inch hole, but I'm going to go ahead and just stop there. Because I need to be able to thread my elastic through. So let me go ahead and clip all this stuff out of the way. And again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball the elastic. So lay it flat. This is 1/4 inch poly braid elastic. And I'm just going to loop it in half and figure out, okay, well, I want my bottom to close to be about this small. It'll stretch and then be about this small. And cut. I know I'm not a measuring kind of gal, but use the opening that we left. Let me find it again. There it is. And if you have a bodkin, it's going to be very handy in this case because it's a tool that you can clip the elastic in between its little pinchers, slide this down, and secure it. And then that makes it easier to feed the elastic through your casing. Now you don't want to lose this piece. So my very technical self is going to put this piece between my teeth. Okay, I am almost out the other end here. There we go, I didn't lose the piece. And lay it so that it would complete the circle. And you're going to sew it so that it does. Now this is one of those instances where you're going to use your fingers to keep the elastic together. And there's no fabric to feed through, so I'm also going to hold on to my strings and use that to kind of pull it through. Forward, backward, forward, backward. So I did 2 forwards, 2 backwards. Clip off your strings. And now you can let it go. And I'm going to put all the extra fabric to one side so that this can be kind of nice and straight so that I can close up my hole. And this is the last step. This closing up the hole is the last step. Use your forward and your back stitch here so that this doesn't come undone. And do another back stitch. It sounds like my son is waking up, and that is some pretty darn good timing. Hi honey, I'm right here. Okay, I'm coming. Okay, let me go take care of him and I'll be back. Okay, so here is our finished product while it is still inside out. Okay. And there it is, all finished. We've got our elastic at the bottom, nice long torso, good sleeves, and the easy lap tee style neck that goes over their heads nice and easy. Nice work. You should be proud.